Hey friend, and welcome back to the Alex Makes VR podcast. What's that, Alex? There's a bit more pep in your step. Could be because you took the week off. Yay! I am back, and in this episode we are talking about how to get clients during COVID. During the kind of downtime that I gave myself this last week, I have been thinking a lot about why we do what we do in business, in life. I mean, if you've been listening to this podcast for a while, you already know that I am quite the philosopher. I think about life probably a little bit too much. Sometimes it can be a bit detrimental to sit in an existential thought trail for too long. But when it comes to business and when it comes to the work that we do, ultimately, what we all want to be able to do is have impact on people, right? I mean, that's why we all got into this business. Or if you're not in this business, but you're clearly interested in it, the reason that you want to jump in is because you are inspired to make a difference, whether that be making a difference in other people's businesses, whether that's a difference in other people's lives, whether you want to make VR that transforms education, or you want to make a story in an immersive way in 360 or VR or AR, and you want to change someone's opinion on a big topic, or you just want to express some way that you feel about the world. You want to connect with other people. At the heart of everything that we want to do in this business, in making VR 360 or any other format that you're working in, is that we want to make a difference in people's lives. And that has never been more apparent than right now during COVID. And I know I kind of want this content to be evergreen. I want you to be able to listen to this and be able to apply the tips or the tricks or just the stuff that I'm kind of talking about in whenever you're listening to this. So I don't necessarily want to make loads of content that is super specific to COVID, but it felt really necessary for me, especially during now, like especially after having some time to reflect. It felt really necessary for me to do an episode to talk to you directly about how you can be getting more clients, making it a bit easier to put food on your own table, a bit easier for you to pay your rent. But not only that, but to actually put your skill set to work and help businesses out there that are struggling, to help physical locations that need your services, whether you believe it or not. They do. They need your services in order to get their footfall back, in order to showcase their new COVID secure layout, to try and attract more online traffic. They need you more than ever. And when you make that switch, when you see what you're doing as essentially an essential service to those businesses, to not in the same way, obviously, as the frontline kind of health workers or the people that are actually, delivering food to the most vulnerable, of course. But in a way, what we are doing, what you are doing in terms of the work that you're providing for your clients, it's not dissimilar. Because think about it, if you did, for example, a virtual tour of a leisure centre that needed to showcase their new COVID secure layouts, where all the hand sanitizers are installed, the one-way systems that they've got in place now, if they needed that virtual tour to showcase how COVID secure their facilities are in order to get people back, which in turn means they are generating more money, which in turn means that the employees that work at that venue, at that leisure centre, now get to stay in their jobs, which means that those employees get to put food on their table. They get to pay their rent, which means that they will then be able to be in a better position to then help the people around them. It's a snowball effect. So when you're thinking about approaching clients during this time, of course you need to be empathetic. Of course you need to think about making sure that you are not doing the pushy. I mean, you know that I'm not a fan of the pushy selling techniques anyway. I personally just don't think that they work, like, full stop anymore. Or if they do you really want to be the kind of person that is a shark, kind of like friggin' car sales person, you know? Like, do you want to be that kind of pushy salesperson? No, you want to be the kind of person that can actually add value to a company. And now more than ever, you need to go in, and when you are approaching companies, you need to make sure that you can add value. You need to make sure you are being empathetic to their situation, because everyone's struggling. But businesses in the leisure centre, in the hospitality industry, the leisure industry and the hospitality industry and all other kind of physical locations that are really suffering right now, more than ever, they need your empathy, but they are struggling, and you can actually help them, whether that be with selling them a virtual tour, selling them a 360 video walkthrough with a staff member, even just kind of generating more content for them to be posting online, which will then allow them to get more kind of traffic, which means that they might get more customers as a result of that. Whatever it might be, you can help those businesses. So let's talk about that. So when you do reach out to these businesses, lead with empathy, lead with kindness, lead with care. Don't just go in and be like, hey, do you want a virtual tour? Which wouldn't be a good idea anyway in the first place, even if we weren't in COVID times. But go in there and make sure that your phrasing, whether you're going in physically or whether you're emailing or calling, whatever it is, make sure that you are obviously opening with empathy, but then also showcasing the value and the benefits of your services. So you must be struggling right now. Have you thought about how demonstrating how COVID secure your facilities are, like how that could potentially help bring new clientele in, or it could bring new customers in, or it could bring back previous clients that might be a bit apprehensive about coming back? Have you thought about that? Yeah, we have thought about that. We're just not, we've tried, we put photos on Instagram. Well, have you thought about something like a virtual tour, or how about like some 360 photos for something like Facebook, or maybe like a kind of a panoramic version of 360, or like, a really simple 360 video that you could then repurpose and reframe and that kind of thing, whatever it is, whatever medium it is that you're selling them. Have you thought about that? Because that could be like a really unique way to reassure people that you are taking these measures seriously, and that could in turn mean more footfall. So that could be a way to approach it. Or it could actually just be places or companies that relied on their physical location for so long, who now definitely need some kind of digital presence, and maybe they've been neglecting their digital presence because that wasn't their priority before, whereas now they might need to prioritize a digital presence, because at any moment, especially in the UK, we could go into a national lockdown. Gyms could be closed down, or, gyms is a little bit different, obviously, because you actually do physically need to be there. But art galleries, museums, theatres, music venues, all these different places that are really suffering right now because they aren't allowed to operate as they were previously. They really could use some kind of digital presence, some innovation. So whether it's, working with them to roll out a virtual reality experience, if that's something. Because the other thing to think about, just to segue off, is that especially in the UK, but I'm sure that in other countries, I know that America definitely have something similar to the UK, where there's a lot of funding sloshing around at the moment, especially in the most affected industries. There's a lot of grant funding. There's a lot of companies that would have taken loans to bolster their digital presence. I know that in England specifically, there are grants going out like every kind of quarter. My accountant emails me with new grants and new funding available for specific remits that the government are releasing. And actually one of them that came out very recently in September 2020 is to reinvent your digital, or bolster your digital well, I can't even think of what the word is, but the digital side of business, and especially for those industries the most affected, they're going to want to put every single penny of that to good use. So actually, they do have money for this. They do have money to help generate more footfall, generate more clients for themselves. So don't be afraid to go out and ask, because I think this is the thing I've kind of concluded over the last week or so, is actually what you're doing, what I'm doing, what we're all doing when we do this, when we go out and we sell these clients virtual tours or 360 projects or virtual reality projects, whatever it might be. We're not taking their money. We are helping them to get more sales, which in turn means that their employees get to keep their jobs, which means that their employees get to go home and buy that birthday cake for their kid, or take their family on a weekend away because it's so bloody miserable now. So just think about that, position it that way if you need to. That's really helped me recently. So I guess that boils down to 3 things really, isn't it? Go in there with empathy and kindness. Number 2, position yourself as adding value. And that could be, number 1, the easy kind of thing to have a think about is, could that business benefit from showing how COVID secure they are? Is that a way that you could position it? So, it might be that they use a virtual tour. Even actually, you could go after existing or previous clients that you've done work for and say, we're living in a very different world now. Would you like an updated virtual tour? Would you like an updated 360 photo portfolio? Would you like an updated VR experience? Because they might want to showcase what new things are in place so that they can reassure their clients or their customers. And then lastly, maybe thinking about those companies that at any second would be massively impacted if we went back down into a full stay-at-home order. And those companies that need to think about a digital bolt-on to their current businesses. Could you go to your local theatre and see if there's some kind of grant money available to them to put on virtual performances? Is there a way of doing a 360 live stream for a dance company? There's so many different things. So you just have to think a little bit differently during these times about who would be best placed to buy your services. But just also acknowledge that you're going to go to some companies and they are going to have so much that they are contending with. They are desperately trying to keep their businesses afloat. And it might be that you just get them on the wrong day or the wrong time, or, there's so many things going on in everyone's businesses right now, in everyone's life in general. So just don't take it personally if that is the case. And for God's sake, don't go in with a hard sell. Go in there, acknowledging that times are really hard, but you genuinely believe that you can help that business. So that's it. That would be my best advice on how to get clients during COVID. And I really, I want to make sure that I'm supporting you to make sure you're getting new clients, which means that you can put rent and food, you can pay for your rent and you can put food on your table, which then means that your clients get to do the same for their employees, which get to do the same for their families, etc., etc. And if you can put that out into the world, then it's like a lovely snowball effect, isn't it? And hopefully we'll all stay afloat and we'll come out of this stronger, although it might not seem it now that we're in the thick of it. Anyway, that's it for today's episode. I might be back on Wednesday. I haven't decided yet. So bear with me if you're listening in real time. But I really appreciate you taking the time to listen to this podcast. As always, if you've got a subject or a topic or a question for me, shoot me a message on Instagram or Twitter. It's Alex Makes VR. And I'm sending out a weekly newsletter with some of my best tips and tricks delivered straight to your inbox. Maybe the occasional bit of VR news. We'll see. I'm still playing around with the format of the newsletter. So you can sign up to that, alexmakesvr.com. So with that being said, keep your head up. I know it's difficult, but we will get through this. We'll get through it one goddamn cold outreach email at a time. Have a great day wherever you are in the world, and I will speak to you again soon.